Okay, so I bet you're really interested in using social media to generate more real estate leads.
Yeah, you're not alone.
I mean, who isn't these days, right?
Right.
So we just took a deep dive into this podcast called The Power of Social Media for Lead Generation.
It's from the Real Estate Growth Podcast.
Exactly. And I got to say, it's packed with some seriously good advice.
Yeah, they really get into the nitty-gritty of it all.
And one of the things that really jumped out at me right away was just how many people are spending hours and hours every single day on social media.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, we're talking Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok.
It's where everyone's at.
Yeah. And think about it. That's where all of our potential clients are already hanging out, right?
Right, so why not meet them where they are instead of trying to drag them away from their favorite apps?
Exactly. It's like, it's so simple when you think about it that way.
But here's the thing, the podcast makes a really important point that I think a lot of agents miss.
What's that?
It's not just about blasting your listings all over social media and hoping someone bites.
Yeah, you got to do more than that.
It's about building trust, becoming that local expert that people turn to for advice and guidance.
I like that. Building trust.
And the podcast actually gives a great example of how to do this.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Let's say you're trying to attract first-time home buyers in your city, right?
Okay.
You could create a quick guide called something like 5 Things Every First-Time Home Buyer in Your City Needs to Know.
That's a great idea.
Or you could even do a short video breaking down recent changes in mortgage interest rates.
See, stuff like that is actually helpful.
It positions you as that go-to resource, someone who's genuinely trying to help people navigate the confusing world of real estate.
You're not just trying to sell them something, you're trying to educate them.
Exactly. And people respond to that.
So the podcast talks about which specific platforms are best for real estate, right?
Yeah, they actually break down several of them.
Cool, let's dive in. I'm curious to hear what they had to say.
Well, Facebook is still a powerhouse, especially for local engagement.
Makes sense. Everyone's on Facebook.
It's got those targeted ads that let you reach very specific audiences.
Yeah, so you can actually zero in on people who are most likely to be interested in what you're offering.
Exactly. And you can even connect with potential clients in local Facebook groups. You know those neighborhood groups?
Oh yeah, I'm in a bunch of those from my area.
It's all about building that sense of community.
Showing people that you're not just some random agent, you're actually invested in their neighborhood.
Precisely. And here's where it gets even more interesting. They recommend something called layered targeting on Facebook.
Layered targeting, I've never heard of that.
It's basically taking your targeting to the next level.
Okay, how so?
So instead of just targeting people who are interested in, let's say, real estate,
Right.
you might layer on additional interests like home decor or DIY projects.
Okay, so you're getting even more specific.
But you can even layer on demographics like age range.
So if you're trying to reach first-time home buyers, you might target people in their late 20s or early 30s who are interested in those things.
Exactly. You're putting your message in front of those who are most likely to be interested.
That is so smart. I've been doing it all wrong.
Yeah.
I've basically just been boosting posts to anyone and everyone.
Yeah, I used to do that too.
No wonder I haven't been seeing the results I was hoping for.
It's all about getting strategic with your targeting.
So Facebook's still a big player. What about Instagram?
Instagram is definitely a must-have for real estate, especially if you want to showcase properties in a visually appealing way.
Oh, for sure. It's all about those beautiful photos and videos.
It's perfect for luxury properties or unique homes where those visuals can really make a statement.
It's like you're giving people a taste of the lifestyle, not just the property itself.
Exactly. And the podcast specifically mentions virtual tours as being a game changer on Instagram.
Oh yeah, virtual tours are huge these days, especially with people wanting to get a feel for a space before they actually visit.
You can really transport someone into that property and help them imagine themselves living there.
You know what surprised me though? They recommend LinkedIn for real estate.
I know, right?
I never really thought about using LinkedIn for that.
Me neither at first.
Is it really worth the effort?
Well, the podcast makes a good point. LinkedIn is where you can connect with other professionals, build your referral network, and establish yourself as a thought leader in the industry.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's more about building relationships and positioning yourself as an expert.
Exactly. Think about it. If you're consistently sharing insightful articles about the local market or offering tips for real estate investing, you're showing people that you know your stuff.
It's like building that credibility and trust over time.
Precisely. And when someone needs a real estate agent, they're more likely to think of you because you've been consistently providing value and demonstrating your expertise.
So you're staying top of mind without being salesy.
Exactly. And you never know who might see your content on LinkedIn and refer a client your way.
It's all about those connections.
Okay, now for the platform that everyone's talking about these days, TikTok.
Oh boy, here we go.
I know a lot of agents are hesitant about TikTok.
Me included.
It can seem a little intimidating, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's right for real estate.
But the podcast challenges us to think outside the box and consider how we can use TikTok to reach a younger, more tech-savvy audience.
Okay, I'm listening.
What if you could create quick videos giving first-time homebuyer tips?
Like little bite-sized pieces of advice?
Exactly. Or you could do a fun behind-the-scenes look at how you stage a property for photos.
Oh, I like that. People love that kind of stuff.
It's about being creative and engaging.
And showing people that you don't take yourself too seriously.
Exactly. TikTok is all about having fun and connecting with people in a more casual, authentic way.
I'm starting to see how it could work for real estate.
And, we can't forget about YouTube.
Oh yeah, YouTube's important too.
What's crazy is that it's actually the second largest search engine.
Really? I had no idea it was that big.
So think about it. Someone's thinking about buying their first home. What do?
They probably start Googling stuff.
But they also go to YouTube and search for things like first-time homebuyer tips.
Oh, that makes sense.
So if you've got helpful videos on topics like that, virtual tours, even neighborhood spotlights, you're tapping into a whole new audience that's actively looking for information.
It's like you're becoming the go-to resource even before someone picks up the phone to call an agent.
Exactly. It's about being proactive and providing value where people are already looking.
So, wow, we've covered a lot of platforms.
We have.
Does this mean we need to be on every single one of them to be successful?
That's a great question.
Because that honestly sounds exhausting.
And it's not necessary.
Okay, good.
The key is to be strategic.
I like that, strategic.
Choose the platforms that align with your target audience and your brand.
So you don't want to spread yourself too thin and end up being ineffective everywhere.
Exactly. Focus your energy on the platforms where you're most likely to connect with your ideal clients.
Makes sense. So let's say we figured out which platforms we want to focus on. What kind of content should we actually be sharing to attract leads?
Well, remember that whole idea of being a valuable resource.
Yeah. Educate people and build trust.
The podcast emphasizes educational content as a way to really put that into action.
I like that.
Think about creating posts or videos that explain common real estate terms.
Okay, like what?
Things like escrow or appraisal.
You know, you're right. A lot of people, especially first-time buyers, have no clue what those things mean.
They can be really intimidating.
It's like you're taking the mystery out of the process and empowering people to make informed decisions.
That's the goal. You want to be their trusted guide.
So education is key.
Yeah.
What else?
The podcast also had some interesting ideas about going beyond those static property photos.
Oh yeah, those can be so boring, especially when you're trying to showcase a really special property.
Right. They suggest things like virtual tours.
Virtual tours are awesome.
They give potential buyers a much better sense of the space and the layout.
It's like they can actually walk through the property from the comfort of their own couch.
Exactly. And the podcast even mentions using things like Instagram stories or TikTok for quick walkthroughs.
Oh, I like that. Short and sweet.
You can highlight those unique features that might not come across in photos.
It's like you're giving people a sneak peek before they even step foot in the house.
And it's a great way to pique their curiosity.
Make them want to see more.
You can even use features like Instagram's live video to do a real-time Q&A session from inside a property.
Oh, that's a cool idea. It's like a virtual open house.
The possibilities are endless.
I'm getting so many ideas. What about testimonials?
Testimonials are incredibly powerful.
I always wonder if people actually pay attention to those.
They do.
Okay, good.
The podcast talked about the concept of social proof.
Social proof, what's that?
It basically means that people are more likely to trust your services if they see others raving about their positive experiences.
Oh, so it's like if other people are happy, then I'm more likely to be happy too.
Exactly. It's human nature.
So it's not just about bragging. It's about building trust through real stories from real clients.
Exactly. Those testimonials give potential clients a glimpse into what it's like to work with you.
And they can really help put people's minds at ease, especially if they're nervous about the process.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of community content either.
Community content.
Yeah, like posts that highlight local events, hidden gems in the neighborhood, or even spotlight small businesses.
Oh, I see. So it's about showing that you're not just some outsider trying to make a quick buck. You're actually invested in the community.
Exactly. You're a local expert who knows and loves the area.
It's like you're selling the lifestyle, not just the property.
Precisely. It helps potential buyers envision themselves living there and being a part of that community.
Okay, so we've got educational content, property tours, testimonials, community content. What about engagement?
Oh, yeah, you got to get people talking.
How do we do that?
Well, the podcast suggests things like polls, questions, or even hosting Q&A sessions about real estate.
Oh, I like that.
You can even ask people to share their favorite things about their neighborhood in the comments.
Make it interactive and fun.
Exactly. The more you can get people engaged, the more likely they are to remember you and see you as that go-to resource.
And it helps you build relationships with potential clients.
So while all that organic reach is fantastic, the podcast emphasizes that we can't ignore paid advertising,
Paid advertising.
especially in a competitive market like real estate.
Right. I've tried boosting posts before, but it never really seemed to do much.
Well, the podcast really dives into Facebook and Instagram ads, and the key here is targeted advertising.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Instead of blasting your message to everyone, you narrow down your audience based on demographics, interests, and even behaviors.
So it's like that layered targeting we talked about earlier.
Exactly. You're putting your message in front of those who are most likely to be interested.
So you're not wasting your money on people who are never going to convert.
And here's a cool trick I learned from the podcast. You can use Facebook's lead generation forms directly within your ads.
Lead generation forms. What are those?
They're basically forms that people can fill out to express interest in a property or request more information.
And you can do that right on Facebook without having to send people to your website.
Exactly. It's so much more convenient, especially for people who are scrolling on their phones.
That's brilliant. It eliminates so many steps.
They also talked about something called retargeting, which I always thought sounded a bit creepy.
Retargeting. I've heard of it, but I don't really get it.
I didn't either at first, but the podcast explains it in a way that makes sense.
Okay, how does it work?
So let's say someone visits your website or interacts with your social media content, but they don't take that next step, like filling out a contact form.
Right, so they're showing interest, but not fully committing.
Retargeting ads gently remind them of your services and encourage them to come back.
So it's not like you're stalking them. It's more like
Mhm.
a friendly nudge.
Exactly. And it's all done through cookies, so you're not actually spying on them.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
It's just a way to stay top of mind without being too pushy.
So it's like, hey, remember me. I'm still here if you need me.
Exactly. And even though it's not technically social media, the podcast also touched on Google ads.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering about those.
They can be really powerful for capturing those who are actively searching for real estate services.
Okay, so someone goes to Google and types in real estate agents in your city.
And your ad pops up.
It's all about being there when people are actively looking.
Exactly. You're capturing that intent-driven traffic.
So Google ads are for people actively looking right now.
Yeah.
And retargeting is for people who have shown interest in the past.
Sounds like you're covering all your bases.
I love it. Okay, so we've talked a lot about attracting leads, but attracting them is just the first step, right?
Absolutely. The real magic happens when you nurture those leads into lasting client relationships.
That's where I struggle. I feel like I'm pretty good at getting people's contact info, but then I'm not sure what to do next.
I know what you mean.
What strategies does the podcast suggest for moving people through that journey from lead to client?
Well, one of the simplest yet most effective strategies is direct messaging.
Okay, so if someone comments on my posts or sends me a message, I shouldn't just ignore it.
Exactly. Take the initiative to start a conversation, offer a helpful resource, or answer any questions they might have.
Be proactive and engage with them.
It's all about building that personal connection and showing that you're not just a faceless brand.
You're a real person who genuinely wants to help.
And when you do capture someone's contact information, perhaps through a lead generation form or a website sign up,
Right.
email drip campaigns are your best friend.
Email drip campaigns.
I know it sounds a little technical.
But I've heard good things about them.
They can be game changers. Think of it like this. You create a series of automated emails that deliver valuable content to your leads over time.
Oh, I see. So it's like a welcome sequence with helpful tips and information.
Exactly. You could include things like home buying tips, market updates tailored to their area, or even just friendly check-ins to see how you can help.
So it's a way to stay top of mind without constantly bombarding people with sales pitches.
Exactly. It's all about providing value and building that relationship over time.
It feels much more natural and helpful.
And the key takeaway here is consistency.
Consistency is key with everything in real estate, right?
Especially social media. It's not about overnight success.
It's a long game.
It's about showing up regularly, providing value, and nurturing those relationships over time.
So it's about becoming that go-to resource for all things real estate, not just when someone's ready to buy or sell right this second.
That's exactly what separates successful agents from the rest in today's digital world.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
And the more you can integrate these strategies, the better position you'll be for the future.
I'm starting to see the big picture now.
It's all about building those relationships and providing value.
And using social media as a tool to connect with people in a genuine and authentic way.
And to stay ahead of the curve in this ever-changing digital landscape.
So much good stuff to think about.
It's like you're planting seeds and, just giving them water and, eventually they'll grow into these big, strong plants.
Oh, I like that.
These big, strong, fruitful client relationships. Yeah.
So basically, this podcast is saying social media isn't just like a nice thing to have anymore. It's like
Oh, no.
essential.
It's a must-have.
It's like a tool that every agent should be using.
Absolutely. And I think what I really like about this particular podcast is that they don't just tell you social media is good.
Right.
They give you actual,
Yeah.
ways to use it.
Actionable advice. Yeah.
Actionable steps, yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to be on every platform like we were talking about.
You don't have to be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
Just figure out who your ideal client is.
Right.
Find out where they are.
Yeah.
And then go there.
Target.
Target.
Quality over quantity.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, we've got that. We figured out who we're trying to reach. We're on the right platforms. Now, how do we stand out?
Right. Because everyone's doing this now.
Everyone's on social media.
It's so crowded, so how do you cut through the noise?
Yeah, how do you make people actually stop scrolling and pay attention to you?
Does the podcast give us anything on that?
They do, and this is where it gets,
Okay.
really good. They really encourage you to think outside the box and go beyond just the basics.
Okay.
And really figure out, what makes you unique?
Okay, love that.
As an agent, what's your personality? What's your expertise?
So bring your own flair.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to show who you are,
Don't just follow some formula. Be yourself.
Yeah.
Be authentic.
So one strategy they talk about is specializing in a niche.
Okay.
So let's say you're amazing at working with first-time home buyers, or you have a deep knowledge of historic properties.
Right.
By focusing on a specific area, you become the go-to expert for that
Oh, I see.
little segment of the market.
Yeah, so it's instead of being just an agent, you're I'm the agent for this.
Exactly. You're speaking directly to those people who are looking for exactly what you offer.
It makes you more memorable.
And they're going to come to you because they know you're the expert in that thing.
Exactly.
So, okay, specialize. What else?
They also talk about, developing your own unique content style.
Okay.
So it's not just about what you're sharing, but how you're sharing it. So are you, witty?
Yeah.
Funny?
Uh-huh.
Do you love telling stories? Are you, super passionate about educating your audience?
Right.
Let that come through.
Yeah, let your personality shine.
Yeah, be authentic.
Because at the end of the day, people do business with people they like and trust. Right.
And you can tell pretty quickly,
Yeah.
scrolling through someone's feed, whether they're
Real or not.
genuine or not.
Okay, so specialize, be yourself. What else?
Explore emerging platforms and trends.
Oh, stay ahead of the game, right?
Especially with social media, because it's
It changes so fast.
constantly
What's hot today is...
gone tomorrow.
Exactly.
So for example, TikTok.
Yeah.
It might not be for everyone,
Right.
but it's definitely popular with younger generations.
Youth.
So if you're trying to, reach first-time homebuyers or people who are really tech-savvy,
Right.
it might be worth at least trying it out.
Seeing if it works.
Seeing if it works for you.
So be open to new things. Experiment.
Yeah, be willing to experiment.
You know?
Yeah, totally.
So as we're wrapping up this deep dive into the podcast,
Yes.
what would you say are the biggest takeaways for our listeners?
If they just remember one thing, what should it be? I would say the biggest takeaway is that social media is not optional anymore.
It's a requirement.
If you want to build your business and generate those leads, you have to embrace it.
It's not going away.
It's not going anywhere.
So you gotta get on board.
Yeah, it's about shifting your mindset.
Yeah.
Don't think of it as a chore.
Right.
It's an opportunity.
Yeah. Be excited about
Be
it.
excited about it.
And the cool thing is, you don't need a huge budget or fancy equipment to get started.
No.
You could literally just start with your phone
Yeah,
and just take that first step.
that's it.
Try something new.
Try it out.
Experiment.
Yeah, experiment.
See what happens.
See what happens.
And remember, you don't have to do everything perfectly from the beginning.
Oh, definitely not.
It's a learning process.
You'll learn as you go.
Yeah. And just be patient.
Be patient, be consistent.
A marathon, not a sprint.
And for those agents who are willing to put in the work,
Yeah.
the rewards can be huge.
Yeah, game-changing.
Game-changing.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of different strategies
A lot of good stuff.
for using social media
Yeah.
to generate real estate
Yeah.
leads.
Absolutely.
But if you had to leave our listener with just one thought,
Mm-hmm.
what would it be?
You know what? Honestly,
Give up.
start.
Just start.
Just start, yeah.
Don't overthink it.
Like, it's easy to get overwhelmed with all this information.
Right. There's so much.
But you don't have to do everything at once.
Yeah, pick one thing
Pick one thing.
and just go for it.
Like, what resonated with you the most from this podcast?
Yeah.
Was it TikTok? Was it
Was it layered targeting?
payer targeting? Was it,
Was it virtual tours?
virtual tours on Instagram? Pick one
Yeah.
and just try it for a month.
A month. Okay.
Yeah, and see what happens.
Just what happens.
You might be surprised.
You might discover something new.
And don't worry about being perfect.
Yeah, nobody's perfect.
Especially in the beginning, just like
Just get started.
put yourself out there.
Yeah, and have fun with it.
Yes. Like, this should be enjoyable.
Let your passion for real estate shine through.
It'll show. People can tell.
Good people can really tell, like, if you're forcing it.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're genuinely excited about it,
they'll be excited too.
yeah, it'll come through in your content.
So to all those agents out there who are ready to take their business to the next level
Yeah.
with the power of social media,
It's time to take action.
like right now,
Just pick one thing and dive in.
you got this.
You got this.
Okay.
And we are here to support you every step of the way.
Absolutely.
All right. That's it for this week's Deep Dive.
So much good stuff.
We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration
Of all things real estate.
of all things real estate. Exactly.